Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Capitol Report. I'm Senator Roger Kahn. You know, as a lawmaker, I rely on other people that are parts of the fabric of society, the fabric of government, and I have the great pleasure and honor of having with me today Judge Patrick McGraw, from Saginaw, from the Probate Court. And I'm looking forward to talking with him and talking with you about the things that go on in the judicial environment. So welcome. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I guess the place to start is, what is a judge, and what's probate court like, and how did you get involved in that? And take that in any order you wish.
That's good order. Well, a judge is a lawyer who became one step up, I think, and lawyers might say it's one step down, depending on who you talk to.
You used to be my lawyer before you became a judge, so I kind of felt it was a step down because I missed you having the wind at my back a little bit.
Well, fortunately, you weren't the only one that felt that way, but you know, it's a process. You know, it's when I go to schools and I talk to kids, and they always ask, well, what do you have to do to become a judge?
Yeah.
And you know, when you tell them what you have to do to become a lawyer, they all kind of look, wow, that's a lot of school, because not only do you have to go
school
through,
to be a lawyer.
Yeah, can you believe that? A lot of people wonder if lawyers did go to school, or they just got that degree somewhere on the streets.
I think it was night school, probably.
Yeah, I wish it was night school, and it was at some points. But you know, it was 4 years of college, and then 3 years of law school. And then you've got to take that dreaded bar exam so that you can get that license to practice. So you've got a minimum of 7 years of school in. You know, some of the older lawyers, they didn't have to have a 4-year degree, but they had to have a 3-year degree. Now it's a 4-year degree with a bachelor's, and then your 3-year law degree. And then you've got to take that bar exam, which you'll see people studying. In fact, I think someone in your office is studying for right now.
Right, that's true.
And it's not a fun thing. It's one more thing to make you stress and worry, and that's probably where you as a cardiologist would have a lot of business with law students.
Yeah, but, right, a lot of I guess, stress ailments at that time.
Oh, yeah. But once you get through that and you pass the bar, then you kind of got to pick a specialty. And I was kind of fortunate when I got done, because I had a father who had been in practice in Saginaw since 1956, I believe, and had an established law office, trial work, mainly trial defense work. And I was fortunate enough to have a job when I came back. I can remember my dad at the time. I was working at what was then called Saginaw Steering Gear.
Oh, were you?
And I was driving back and forth to school, and I ended up getting married, coming to Cooley Law School down here in Lansing, and working here.
So you were married at the time that you went through law school?
Yeah, I was married.
That makes it a little harder.
Married and 2 children.
Really?
And so I had a full-time job, and General Motors happened to lay me off during law school, which made it a little easier for me.
Yeah.
But I remember my dad telling me, he says, you know, when you get done with school, he says, I don't think you're going to want to go back to GM. He says, I think you want to come with me. I can pay you a lot more money. And when I went back and my dad told me what he was going to pay me, and I showed him what I was making at GM, he says, maybe you better go back to GM.
Yeah, there is that out there.
I would have been retired by now had I stayed at GM. But I ended up working with him till he retired in about 1996. And then in 1999, then Governor John Engler gave me a call, and there was an opening in the probate and circuit court, and asked me if I would take one of them. And I was honored to accept, and became a judge in 1999 as a result of that call from Governor Engler.
Gee, that's a really a nice story. Well, how did you know Engler, or how did he know you?
Well, I think probably he took office in what, 1990?
About then, yeah.
And I can remember someone asking me, do you want to go down to this inaugural party for the Governor Engler? And I wasn't very much of a politician, other than being I was on the Saginaw Township Board. So I said, sure. Went down there, and this guy came up and says, I want to take your picture with the governor. And I said, why would you want to do that? And I look at the photographer, and it was the Senate Republican photographer who was working for Engler at the time, went to high school with me.
Oh, really?
And was a friend of mine.
Isn't that something?
And he's still doing photography in Saginaw. So he came up, took my picture there, and I guess that's how I got to meet he and the governor at the same time that time.
So you you got to know him a bit, and he called you. Well, all right. So after the phone call, and you get appointed as judge, how do you transition from being an attorney to being a judge? I guess it'll be a bunch of it's different law, isn't it?
Well, it's in my case, I kind of switched careers. You know,
Yeah.
I did 20 years of the trial work,
Yeah.
both plaintiff and defense.
Yeah.
And being in court all the time. So it was an easier transition, I think, for me to go into the courtroom because I was in the courtroom every day versus some lawyers who become judges that aren't really into court and trying cases. So I already had a good grasp of the law, a good grasp of evidence, the rules of procedure in a courtroom, so it was easy for me to make that transition. The hard part was that I had gone from doing primarily civil work and very little criminal to a full probate practice and to a full family court practice, which was about 2% of the work I had done as a trial lawyer.
Right, exactly.
So that took a little
that
bit.
Different change.
It was, but you know what? After 20 years, it was a good time. It was a good time to re-educate myself, and kind of reinvigorated me. And I was very fortunate because in 2000, I came on the bench in December 6, 1999, and in April of 2000, the whole probate code changed. So we went from a probate code that started in 1979, was revamped in 1989, and then in 2000 changed to the what we call EPIC, the Estates and Protected Individuals Code.
Sure.
And so all the lawyers and all the judges had to learn this new code. And so it was a great time for me because the lawyers and I had to decide, are we going to follow this new code right away? How much lead time are we going to have? What do we do with the old code?
Sure.
And how are you going to do it? And I said, well, let's kind of work together on it. And in talking with my staff who had been there for a long time and some of the lawyers that were in there all the time, we worked it out as to what we were going to do to integrate the new code into the actual practice in the probate court. And so it was a great experience for them. It was a great learning experience for me.
And in some ways you were there learning together, I guess.
Right, and it was a good practice.
Well, how'd you go then from Patrick McGraw attorney to Patrick McGraw judge in terms of dealing with people that you had been, I guess your attorney friends to the attorneys who are now before you, and your
It's a little.
Does
it's
that
a little
change the
hard.
relationships a little bit?
You know, it does in a way because you know, people look at you, and if I'm out associating with one of my old attorney friends who I tried cases with every day, they say, "Boy, he's got that judge in his pocket," you know, or "What's he doing with that guy?" You know, unfortunately, people don't see that because I was always a pretty outgoing person. I was always talking to everybody and hoped I didn't have too many enemies, and I continue that way. I treat the lawyers as I always treated them before. In fact, I made my courtroom probably, I hope, more lawyer-friendly than I was used to, trying to work my courtroom as lawyers needed it to work for their business, you know, trying to be punctual, trying to be on time, setting a date, keeping that date, not adjourning it for my, you know, frivolities or whatever I might want to do.
Are you going to the 100 Club dinner tonight?
I sure am. I'm the vice president of that club.
Are you? Talking about, you know, knowing people. Well, what's the 100 Club then, Judge?
Well, good. This is a free info for the 100 Club. The 100 Club is a club that we established in Saginaw County. And
Didn't you found it?
No, I was one of the founding members.
But
there was Richard Watson from Burt Watson Pontiac Cadillac in Freeland, Michigan, was kind of the one that was instrumental in bringing it to a group of us. And there was a group of about 5 to 10 of us at the point of time, and said, hey, I heard this 100 Club speech in Detroit, and it's really a good club. And he explained it to us as I'm explaining to you, that it's a club where the members pay a $200 dues a year, and that money is used and kept in case of a death of a firefighter, police officer, emergency tech, corrections officer, who are killed in the line of duty. And we thought that would be a good thing for these people who offer a good public service to have a club like this and raise money for that. So, for instance, if a police officer happens to get killed in the line of duty, we have a committee of 3 or 4 of us that will go immediately to that person's house, make sure they're taken care of. We have an envelope that we can give them some cash right away to keep them on their feet. We look at taking care of their mortgage, tuition payments if they have for the kids, helping the kids through school, making sure they've got clothes. And that's our immediate response to try to help out those members of the public.